My name is Baba Israel. I'm originally from New York City, but I now live in Manchester. I grew up in the theater. I grew up in arts. My parents were in an infamous theater company known as the Living Theater, if anyone knows that or check them out. And one of their key goals was to get theater out of theaters and to break down the elitism that often was associated with theater. And now, ironically, I run a theater building. So it's a kind of strange journey, but it's a special theater building which really welcomes people who don't traditionally go into theaters, young people from a wide range of communities. And that's why I was drawn to come to Manchester and to be in that place. There's some key things that I really enjoy that are kind of my core values as a person. One of them is improvisation and spontaneity, and another is interaction and collaboration. So I'm collaborating with Mark. So give it up for Mark. All right. It's really, for me, it's really important that the technician is they're not a cyborg, they're not a robot. They're a human. They're in the space with me. We're collaborating. We're going to be very transparent because we're working between about 4 different things here. And I'm also collaborating with you in the space and the environment, the empty space. I'm going to think about that one. But right now, we're going to fill the space a little bit. We're going to do a little bit of a layered collaboration. So if we can actually jump to this computer. So we'll jump here for a second. We've got, and I'm going to hopefully remember how to get out of this when it's time to get out. We've got the Twitter feed happening, which is one way that you guys are interacting. So we're going to do 2 things. I'm going to do an improvisation with this Twitter feed, but also I'm going to ask you at some point to hold up various objects so that we kind of get a physical and a virtual collaboration happening at the same time, and people are already smiling. So here we go. So my name is Baba. I'm also a hip-hop artist. My name is Baba off the top of the head when I freestyle and flow with TED. Welcome, cameras, photograph, Yatterbox, Chatterbox, politics, tweeters, politicians, social media. Will they become ingredient when I start to view it? It's like Wikipedia, transmissions, communications, as I do it, like pilot theater. Yes, it's like this. People engage with online worlds. But why don't we engage with physical? It's a ritual, mystical. Try to find individuals, not the technology. It's the stories, allegories when they pour. Hold up an object and I'll start to soar like that. What's the first object? I connect. It's something. Don't be shy. It's like that. I can see it. Reflections on my dad or maybe an iPad. TEDxYork program. We can go from the digital to a pen, the digit, the finger. Then we linger like that. I live in Manchester, I'm a storyteller, but I don't have an umbrella. The rain, it falls. As I start to do it, it's like that. Onwards, like Tassos. You know what I mean? I'll turn into a cat and do an email. The cat never existed, but to those children's minds and imagination, it truly lived when I flow. It's like that collaborative theater experience. Stuff. What is stuff? That's the question. Stuff is that unnameable, exchangeable conjunction. It's the inner stream, the Twitter stream, the steam age. I haven't figured out how to connect to steam, but steam powers me. Evaporation of voice, evaporation. That sounds brilliant. Thank you. I start to do it in a place. I'm excited. I'm invited. I'm glad you're excited. I'm excited. Mad skills, rapping flavors and tailors and bailers and bailiffs and firemen. With time and I move like that when I'm shining. Freestyle collaborations, rhyme, social media with Wikipedia. I did that actually. Dad with iPad. That's cool. I'm doing it flowing. So now I'm self-reflecting, reflection on my digital identity in the place when I travel in a brand new century, mentally transmitting. You're watching me, you're watching that, we're watching this, we're wondering, moving through the thundering freestyle flows. When I say free, you say style. Free. Style. Thank you. All right. Cool. If we can jump to the presentation now. Oh, that's the end. That's the end. We'll start at the end and begin at the beginning. Yeah, that's cool. So I want to talk about improvisation, collaboration. So back to the keynote. That's all right, Mark, we're working together. So we're going to go, there we go. So we're going to go from improvisation and collaboration, and then where does technology come into this? Now, we just use technology with a Twitter feed to get a bit of interaction, but I was also, because I'm really interested in how technology can really challenge distance, distance between physical space. And so Twitter, one way to do that is Twitter, but I'm really interested in going a little bit further than that. Let's go to the next slide. So this is a photograph from an event that we do at Contact called Mixed Movement. Now, one of the relationships where I find that I really have had to learn about improvisation and collaboration is marriage. I don't know if anyone else can relate to that, but I definitely feel that. And one of my great collaborators is my wife, and she created this event. She's a dancer and she's a poet. And a lot of dancers, if you talk to dancers, when they're not in a dance show, when they're not in a company, there's not a lot of opportunities for them to express themselves. And so she created an open mic for dancers, where dancers could sign up, do an improvisational music, names go in a hat, and then random duets. People are paired up, and then there's a collaboration in the moment. It's a great way for dancers to make connections, and we really wanted to have a mixing of styles, so we have contemporary, ballet, hip-hop, house, voguing, belly dancing, all these different styles mix up, and I think that's something that we've been hearing around, when exciting things happen is around that hybridity, that mixing. So what we're gonna do, what I wanna talk to you is I'm gonna tell you a story. we do this event every month at Contact, and my wife Dawn was going to be in New York for really one of the main big events. And we were kind of stressed out because she's the normal host, and how are we going to do the event? And I'll give you a little bit of background. I have a close friend who lives in New York who runs an organization called Culture Hub, and they've been working with the Art Institute of Seoul because the Art Institute of Seoul wanted to have all these theater faculty from New York teach, but no one wanted to move to Korea. So they said, what can we do? So they started to look into tele-presence, into this kind of full-bodied use of technology to create exchange, like we're seeing a bit with the Skype. And so they researched and they developed this, and they've been looking at how do we use this technology to do workshops, to do rehearsals, to do multi-location performances. So me and Billy, who runs Culture Hub, we were trying to think about what could we do? What should be our first project? So we tried one thing where we did a freestyle thing where people were holding up objects in Manchester and then MCs in New York were rhyming about them. And that was kind of a first nice try. But there was still this sense of separation because things weren't happening simultaneously. Someone would hold something up and then someone would respond. So then I thought, well, you're going to be in New York. Billy's in New York. Why don't we try having you host Mixed Movement from New York? Let's try that. So we're going to jump back here for a second, if we don't mind. I'm going to see it. There we go. Good. I'm just going to show you a little taste of this. We're going to bring this to the beginning. Get some sound here. Yeah? I'm going to just fast forward. Little taste of this event. Little taste of it.
Bob, I got a question for you.
I think what we should do is we should jump in just while we have a connection. I love this moment, actually. If you notice, there was an error, and the dancers started working with the error. There's an old saying in theater, if the dog's on the stage, the dog's on the stage. And to me, this is a great example of that, the new century. The error message comes up, and then he goes under and ducks under it. To me, this was a really exciting moment because, we said, all right, we're going to try it. We had never tried it before. And of course, the day that we decided to do this event, the internet went down. It's just a classic moment. The internet completely went down, completely mysteriously. And so we had planned a rehearsal because we had never tried it. We wanted to, we had the dancer and we had the screen, and we said, what are we going to do? And then, we're feverishly, my IT guy's there. It's all crazy. And then finally, 8 o'clock hits. There's about 160 people coming into the theater. It's still not working. And it's like that moment. I'm trying to think of backup plans. Luckily, this is the good thing. The one thing I will say, the reason I decided to start with improvisation and technology is because technology really does require improvisation. It's a really key element. So I figured if we can improvise, something will happen. There's dancers in Manchester, we'll make something happen. And I was sort of preparing, but we had billed this as our first Digital Duets event. And then, I'm preparing myself to kind of walk up to the stage and, sorry, we're not going to be able to connect with New York. And it was a really tough moment. But, it was we were lucky that day because I went to the technician as I was walking down and I said, let's try it one more time. And then, boom, they popped up. And that's why if you noticed in the beginning when she said, should we start? I said, let's start while we have the connection, because that we were just literally in that moment. And we had a 2-hour beautifully. So I'm going to jump back to the... So this was our first experiment of having, and the reason I chose dance was because the latency with music, it's not quite there yet. Long chords with really rhythmic music, it's not quite there yet. So I figured with dance, our visual perception of latency is not as strong as our auditory. I knew with dance. There's a lot of things that I could talk about. in terms of the benefits, environmental impact. You don't have to fly people over in the same way. It's cheaper, no flights, no hotels. Marketing, inviting a performer to stream in and perform, then getting him back physically 2 months later. But the most important thing I was curious about, would there be that visceral, emotional connection? This makes my voice sound weird. That emotional, visceral connection that you feel in a live setting. And we really found that these performers were able to connect and find that sense of play. And one performer was actually so moved afterwards because they had never met each other. The first time they saw each other was when they started to dance. She grabbed the mic, she just said, I have to say hello to you because we've just shared something so powerful. So that's kind of the journey that we've been on. I'm gonna skip to the next slide because what I did realize here, oh, that's right, you're going it. Thank you. I've never been a great fan of screens when it comes to performance. I think they really create a sense of separation, and they don't allow us to be in the same playing space. And I've always struggled with that with video and theater and performance. So we started to explore, and also I think sometimes with technology we try to reproduce the natural world. We try to reproduce what we expect. And I have to say, at Shift Happens, I connected with Body Data Space last time I was here, and we brought them to do a workshop because they've done a lot with tele-presence. And they really encouraged us to forget about trying to maintain scale. Play with the fact that this person isn't physically in the room and that you have then magic powers in a way and you can make them bigger or smaller or zoom into their sneaker or go into their eye. You can really play with scale, and I really have to thank them for that. Let's go to the next slide. The other important collaborators here are technicians, and we often don't talk about our technicians. The people who are behind the scenes. And I've been really lucky to have a fantastic technical team at Contact. And so here you see, what the audience would never see, the two technicians, and that's Billy actually, who's one-man band. He's the technician, the guy who runs the organization. He does it because it's New York and there's no infrastructure. So he runs everything, right? So you see our two technicians there talking, planning, working things out. And if you can see, we've moved away from screens and we're projecting on gauze. And that starts to create some really nice illusions in terms of bringing the performers together. So if you go to the next slide, so then you'll see here, we're playing with scale. So there's Dawn, my wife there, and then Future, an amazing dancer from New York, doing a live improvisation. And now the lines start to blur in terms of their sense of being together in the same space. And then also we started to play with scale, and we really had a lot of fun with that. So then the other thing is the technicians are improvising as well. They're playing with the camera. And it's very tricky to think about this stuff because you have to think about, okay, there's a live performer here. There's a performer in New York being streamed in. What are we seeing? What is the audience seeing? What's the audience in New York seeing? What's the artist in, it starts to get very complicated. And thankfully we did have some time to kind of rehearse and develop this. So we'll go to the next slide now. So I just want to show you, so for me, what's really important, this sense of collaboration, this connection between these two artists, if we go to the next one, now becomes this. And so now you have a dancer in New York, a dancer in Manchester, really connecting, really creating, and really feeling that sense of play. And for me, to talk to the artists afterwards and ask them, did you feel that visceral connection? And the answer is really there, and you can see it in their faces. We'll go to the next slide. So once again, this is what we do in physical space, and then we go to the next slide. And you can really see it on their faces. They really are joining in that moment and really playing together. Explore new forms. So we started with dance. I wanted to try something with spoken word and have two poets. I was really lucky that I was in New York City and I was performing at an event, and there was a fantastic young poet, about 17 years old. He's the Youth Poet Laureate of New York. And he just blew me away. He just had a great energy about him. And we have a resident company, Identity, at Contact. And I thought, there's a poet in Manchester, you guys would connect. So I thought, well, I can't fly him over right now, but I'll introduce them. They met over Skype. They started talking. They created a poem together over Skype. And then they performed it together. So we're going to show you a little clip of that and give you a little bit more footage of some of the experiments we've been doing moving forward from our old, kind of the first stage to where we are now. Yeah? Oh, that's the two poets there. Go for it. And we have the pleasure of seeing a collaboration between Reese from Young Identity and from a young artist in New York who is actually the Youth Poet Laureate. His name is Justin Long. So he's the Youth Poet Laureate of New York City. So let's give some energy for him. He can hear you in New York right now. So, are you guys ready to experience tele-presence and to see a live performance between two poets in two cities. All right, beam me up, Scotty. Here we go. Culture Hub, Contact, New York.
Facing screens we can simultaneously be everywhere. This is international art, minus the airfare. Just a little more hardware, a few more sleepless nights. A translator and the will to compromise. The intellect to see the world through common eyes. Stay awake, because the future's just in sight. Young identities merge through the love of urban word. Keep in contact through cyberspace. Yo, Justin, I think it's your turn.
My turn. I'm home world. Different time zone. I'm cloned. There are many knees, body stretches across sea. You see? Technology is innovation.
This is international art, minds for air. With poets in New York,
Manchester,
and Amsterdam, Beijing, Cape Town, and Pakistan, Kingston, Gaza, and even in Japan.
Get up for California, somebody please technically let me know what her name is.
Natalie Metzger.
Yay! Natalie, God, great to meet you. All right, let's give it up for Natalie and Manchester. Here we go.
it's an experience. It was an amazing experience. I just digitally performed in Manchester. Telecommunication, no community, and we took it that, we did that within ourselves. So it was great.
Can we actually give a little bit of light on the audience so we can show Justin who we just
in that room, he's in a black box room and really can't see the audience, and then that moment where his face lights up and he sees that crowd and he realizes he's just performed for 300 people in Manchester. For me, that's a really powerful moment, and you also get to hear the audience's response, that this visceral connection is not just between performer. Skype real quick, just see if we can quickly bring him in. So if you go back to that slide while you try to call him, and we'll see. And let's go to the next one. So the next thing here you can see. It's for to rehearse a piece and to move from just improvisation. And then if you go to the next slide, we'll watch a little of that while we see if we get it.
One of me.
Yeah.
It would be dope to allow the audience as well as for the release of yourselves to get freestyle on a piece.
Oh, lovely.
It's more than I could bear.
6, 7, 2, go. Oh yes. Go. That's 2 steps. Go.
Tia, I'm wondering somehow then can you do a movement that then makes future appear back? You know what I mean? Like all of you guys maybe do something like you're casting a spell, like you all kind of reach back and then boom, throw your energy into the center and then future appears again.
Okay, so where we okay guys, go to your last position.
Then you appear and then you take a solo there and you just get busy.
And for me, that's a really exciting breakthrough for us now to move into beyond improvisation. And one of our next goals now is in terms of being able to bring artists from all over the world, collaborations. I think for me, the one thing, I know there's people really thinking into the future. One of the challenges and the setups at the moment. And then the people from New York can't join us, but I'm just sort of imagining if I could.
Thank you, Baba. That was what's known in the traders. That was all the TED moments, that thing with the stuff there. That was a fantastic talk. Thank you, Baba. It was great. Now then, shift happens. You can say hello. We've got to say thank. While we're doing that, just a big hand actually for the technicians who've been struggling with some stuff here, because Mark.
Shift always does happen. This is Reese. He's one of the poets. Can you hear us, Reese? No? Yeah, hold on.
Yeah, I can hear.
Can you make some noise? Make sure you feel Reese. Yeah, great. So Reese is actually in a rehearsal space right now. The director has thankfully let me have a few minutes of his time. But just quickly, Reese, we only have about 30 seconds, 40 seconds. If you could just say a little something about what that experience of collaborating with a poet who you've never met, what that felt like for you as an artist.
It was an amazing experience. I believe that really art should bridge distance and that location shouldn't be an issue. So to be able to be in America and England at the same time was amazing. You know, to work with somebody I'd never physically met before was a really good experience.
And is there anything that you could imagine about where this might go in the future or for your own ideas?
Yeah, look, I'd love to see a spoken word slam with poets all around the world, really. And it would be really cool as well to see some more collaboration. So maybe a theatre piece with keeping in different places at the same time. And yeah, that would, I think, a few possibilities.
Wait, I know we've got to go. Please, Reese is about to go back to rehearsal. Send him some energy. He'll feel it. Reese, thank you so much. Okay, bye now.